Welcome back to the Total Focus Podcast. I'm your host, Paul. Our sponsor of the week is Mid-Atlantic Video and Photography Productions. They specialize in both photography and videography. So no matter if you are in need of a photo for a special event, you need headshots, you are doing a competition, or if you're doing a wedding and you need a videographer, they are the team to get the job done. Our special guest this week is Lauren Weeks. She is a former MRS International 2018. What an incredible person to speak with. You are going to be so in for a treat. She is so inspiring. She talks about her experience of competing as a young person, wanting to sing, and then getting into pageantry, and then taking a 10-year gap and going on this short but exciting roller coaster to becoming a national title holder. And all of the experiences and all of the benefits of competing in the international system is incredible. So stay tuned and look forward to this great interview. And welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you on the show, Lauren, and I really appreciate you giving me a little bit of your time during everyone's homestay for the short. How are you doing during this period?
You know what? We're doing pretty well. Not much has changed for us. My husband typically works from home a lot of the time, so we've just been kind of doing a normal life, except for the fact that we don't really leave to go to the store or, really anything. We're really trying to limit as much as possible.
And where are you currently? Are you in California or?
Yeah, we're in Southern California.
Um, are you a very cautious person? Are you really scared to leave? Because I don't want to leave my house at all during this
You
time.
know, I am not. I'm not a super. I mean, yes, I live my life cautiously, of course, but I haven't been scared to leave. It's just mainly out of respect for other people's fears. I just try to, respect the fact that some people do have, underlying health issues. And if we can limit, because it's very possible that I've had it. I have been sick over the past couple months with
Oh
things that I
no.
thought were not that big of a deal, a cough here or something. And, it's coming out now that people are saying, like, oh, yeah, I had it and I didn't even realize I had it. So, for that reason, I think like it's possible I have it. So, I want to limit my exposure for other people who have underlying health issues or people that, may be more susceptible to it.
Are you having those classic symptoms like the cold night chills and?
Kind of, yeah. I had something in February that was really similar, and obviously we have no way of knowing at this point if it was or wasn't. But looking back, I think when I hear people talk about their symptoms they're having, I think that was very close to what I had. It just didn't last as long as some of the people that are obviously having to go to the ICU, and it didn't get to that extent. So, it could have just been the flu, it could have been a cold. We don't really know at this point, but better safe than sorry in every way possible. But I do believe that for the majority of Americans, they're going to get through it. And we really want to build that herd immunity in order to protect people in the future.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm so thankful that you were able to recover and your family didn't get sick either. So, and
Yeah.
I hope you're doing much better. So,
Yeah, I am. Thank you.
well, I wanted to bring you on because it's not every day that I get to talk to a national title holder, and especially someone with the I always say MRS. I always get messed up by saying Mrs. So
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
there's something with my brain that doesn't. So MRS is how I say it, but because I think the MRS title is such a unique and more prestigious title. Having a Ms. title, your life is so you could be really young, but as an MRS title holder, there's such a wide variety of people that you compete against, and
Mm-hmm.
it's such a unique talent pool that you have to compete against. So I usually
Right.
get to really talk to a wide variety of young ladies that have such a large amount of just knowledge, and just it's like going on a cruise ship and getting to sit with the people at the table that have been on 50 cruises, and there's so much things you can learn,
Exactly. Yeah.
and that's how I equate the you know you can learn a little bit with the Miz, but you can learn so much from someone who's been married and has gone through all of that, and
Yeah.
then also compete in a title. So now,
Yeah.
how did you originally get into pageantry, or did you not necessarily start in the pageantry? Did you do sports as a young person and then do something else? So how did this journey start?
So I actually was pretty sporty. I started playing soccer when I was 5 years old, and then played for 13 years. And it was a huge part of my life. But the biggest part of my life was singing. I love to sing. And when I was early high school age, I think a freshman, my mom had met a lady who was a makeup artist, and she had kind of been involved in pageants. And she had told my mom, you should really get Lauren involved in pageants because they have a talent portion, a lot of them, and she can have an opportunity to sing on stage and perform and be judged and give her another place to sing. So that was how I started. My first pageant was with Hawaiian Tropics.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
it was, yeah, it was super fun. I got to do, I believe it was their like national competition in Anaheim, and you enter it in categories. So there's talent category, and then there was evening gown category. There was like I think like a fun fashiony type of category, and there was also a bathing suit category. So I entered all of them, and
Are you a naturally trained singer?
no, no, not at all. It was just, starting out at age 2, I was singing Disney songs, and
Okay.
my
You just
aunt had heard and said, she told my mom, you should really get her in voice lessons. I think she has a pretty good voice. So I started voice lessons relatively young. I had a teacher that didn't take students under 16, but she ended up, um, sorry, I had my alarm. She
It's
ended up
okay.
taking me at an earlier age. So I think I was about 8 or 9, and, it was just something I love to do. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do it as a career, but when you love something and it's a hobby and it can be used in so many ways, I did it all the time.
It's something that you can
So
just take with you your entire life. So
exactly, exactly. So this Hawaiian Tropic pageant was super fun, and I got to enter the talent competition, and it was my very first experience in a competitive area where I remember this girl literally sitting next to me and like purposely, I think, trying to psych me out, and it like blew my mind. I remember I walked over to my mom and I was like, I have no chance. This girl just told me that she has sung with Justin Timberlake. Like, how do I stand a
okay,
chance?
okay.
I'm like,
And
and my mom's like,
how old is this? Like
I was a freshman
okay,
in high
freshman.
school. And
So you're
yeah,
like 13, 14?
yeah,
Yeah.
somewhere around there. I think
That's
it
a
was
little,
before
and
I turned 14.
that's a little brascadoti.
It was
Like,
pretty
like,
interesting.
I've already sung with Justin Timberlake.
Yeah, and like at the time I knew, I was like, oh, she's trying to psych me out. Like this isn't just like, but whatever the case, it
I
was my
know that's
first
so, but
experience
it's so
with it.
cute. But like, clearly she didn't, because you're like, I know, I'm still gonna win. Ha 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 ha.
Well, it was just we just did different things. She did kind of a country,
Gotcha.
she did like a country thing, and I was doing a Linda Eder song. I did Big Time, so it was very like
Oh,
show tuney, and
yeah.
and so we just had different avenues. So it really comes down to what the judges like.
Oh, yeah.
There
Absolutely.
were other people doing other things, and I was lucky enough to win the talent competition, and it felt so good to mainly for me just to overcome that anxiety I had from her kind of like it was I had competed in soccer games and had that competition, but this was different. This was like, no, it's not we win this game, we lose the next one. It's like they're judging us based on our performance. This 3 minutes we have, it was just a really interesting experience.
It
But then it kind of hooks you because you're like, I overcame that fear. I want to do it again. What's next? How can I push myself further? And
It's
so
that
it kind
natural
of got me into
it's
pageants.
that natural drug that, that high, like, oh, I just did well. I want to do it again. I
Right.
want to do it again.
Right. Right. And not as much for like the win. It was more that I remember feeling proud that I just went up there and did my best despite feeling ill prepared for what I was about to go into. I mean, it seemed like everyone else there had competed before, knew each other, and here I am, this newbie that nobody really knew. And I remember feeling like I wasn't, like, what am I doing here? But then to still get up on stage and perform and then to win was like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe I did that. And that was what truly became like the addicting part, is just feeling like, okay, what's next? What can I overcome and how can I better myself? And that was the thing that was so wonderful about pageants as, a high schooler, is it really taught me great interview skills. And I know that a lot of people say that, but I truly, truly believe that if you if you want to be like successful in an interview, do pageants, because it puts you in the scariest position possible to interview in front of five judges just throwing questions at you, and you have to learn to field those questions and stay, calm under pressure. So all around, it just was a really good experience for me. So I wasn't like all into pageants every year. I would do one and then I took a few years off. And then it wasn't until my senior year of college that I won Miss San Diego. And that was with the America system. And I got to go compete up at Miss California. And it was a great experience. We all go to
Was
Fresno, and
was it exciting
um,
to represent such a big city in California?
yeah,
Is that
it really was, because, when you're there and you're competing against some places that, obviously to everyone their home city and is the best in their county. But for me, representing San Diego, it was really fun because everybody knew San Diego, and girls that lived, in Northern California would ask me like, "What's it like living in San Diego?" So that was really fun, to just be representing San Diego.
I would totally imagine that living in a large state like yourself, having like a big state title like San Diego, San Francisco, Los Angeles
Hmm.
would be
Hmm.
so fabulous, because it's like having it's like having a state title, because the
Right.
communities are so big,
Right.
and you represent so many people. So
But
because
it also comes with that pressure
yes, that's right.
that,
Mhm.
it's kind of interesting to be like somewhere that people don't know. No one's really, you feel like you're less under a microscope. So you kind of have the positives and the negatives with it. I think like everybody knew San Diego, but everybody knew San Diego. So it was kind of, a little bit of good with bad, but it was a great experience. I did not make the top, I think it was a top 15 or a top 20. I didn't make it, but I walked away feeling proud and knowing that, it was my first time up there. I really was kind of clueless looking back. Like, I didn't really know. I didn't, like, now, the pageant shoes that girls wear in bathing suit. I had no clue. I had on these
No,
terrible
no tippy
shoes.
tops, no tip, no.
Yeah, exactly. I had no clue what tippy tops were. I didn't know. So I walked away, and several people wanted me to compete again and try that second time, and thought that I could be successful. But the reality was is I had a boyfriend who I loved and felt like we were probably getting engaged soon and married, and I just thought, no, like, I did it. I want to get married. I don't want to be, I don't want pageants to run my life. I want my life to run my life. And if pageants fit in, great. And if they don't, then they don't. So I pretty much stepped down and didn't do anything else after that. And it was a whole 10 years before I decided to enter a Mrs. pageant.
Now, what was the first Mrs. one that you finally did?
So I got involved in like a local city pageant just as a director, kind of on the board, helping the girls with their interview skills. And it kind of made me want to do it again, but I just thought, no, I don't know. I didn't even know where to begin.
Those itches that they some people say they get. I sometimes I get it when I want to play baseball or watch a movie. I get those itches. Is that
Yeah, it was really an itch, but I didn't know what to do or how to handle it. So I just didn't do anything. Then it turns out that one of our judges that year for the competition was the director for the Mrs. Greater San Diego pageant. So she does Miss Greater San Diego, Miss Teen, Greater San Diego, and they all lead to the USA system. But her Mrs. pageant, um, she also did. And she saw me and she's like, "You're married? You should do my Mrs. pageant." And I thought, that's so funny. I've been thinking about doing a Mrs. pageant. So I ended up, thinking about it for about 6 months. And then I'm the type of person, I don't like the pressure. So I literally told my mom and my sister. I didn't even tell my husband. I signed up and I just went down and competed for it. It was a 1 day event. I told my husband I
Wow.
was just going to be in San Diego for the day with my
Okay.
mom and sister.
Okay.
And I came home that night with a crown and a sash. So he was like,
What?
what?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
just for I say for fun or shits and giggles, just went
Yeah.
down. Whoa. Okay. You just pulled
Well,
out
it
your.
really was.
Did you just
I
pull
just
the
thought I've
dress and
been out
everything
of the
out of your
game.
wardrobe?
Well, so I had helped with that local pageant. Well, the girl that had won that year, I fell in love with her dress, and I asked her if I could borrow her dress,
Okay.
and
Good.
she said yes. And then everything else I had. Um, and so I just kind of thought, you know what? I was Miss San Diego the year that I met my husband. And how fun would that be 10 years later to go back and compete for Mrs. Greater San Diego and surprise him with that title, you know?
Now
Um,
is he a pageant husband? Does he like that, or did he look at you
he
funny?
No, he's I think he's just the perfect mix. Like he's
Okay.
not so into it that he's telling me like don't wear that. Oh, that looks like he doesn't care, but he also isn't uninvolved. Like when he's there and he
Good.
supports me, but he's also not like please do another pageant, please do another. No. He's like you're good, right? You're done. So, that was pretty fun coming home and surprising him. And he was obviously thrilled, but then I was like, "Oh, and by the way, I have to go compete for Mrs. California." And he's like, "What? Is this is another thing?" So yeah, we got to go up to Bakersfield and compete for Mrs. California International, and it was such a wonderful experience. The directors, Megan and Ashley, we just like they made you feel at home, and my husband loved the experience. And we're very strong in our faith, so the fact that they prayed with all of us before we ate, prayed before the competition, it just felt like it was the right place for me to be at the time. So I
Well,
go and I compete.
that's what makes that MRS pageant system so more unique because it's so more family oriented and faith based in most
It
cases.
really is. It really is. I think most of them that I've been involved with have had that aspect. And particularly with the international system, I
Mhm.
gotta say, I love how involved our husbands are, that they get to walk us and escort us on stage in our evening gown. It's like your wedding day all over again. And it really kind of got me excited about the international system because I thought, I love that he's on stage with me. This is not about me.
It's
It's
about
not about
us,
me in a gown. It's about us as a
right?
couple. And so that was really fun. And then also the other big thing is if you win, they ask your husband to come on stage and crown you. So it's not, you know, not supposed to be your successor. It's just your husband who gets to put that crown on you. And I think that's such a sweet moment, and really fun for the husbands because they sacrifice a lot as we prepare for pageants. So it's really nice for them to have that moment to get to crown their wife on stage and feel like, okay, we did it, not she did it.
Right. He's as much as Mr. International as you are MRS International.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I went and competed and was lucky enough to win Mrs. California International. So then, I had to tell my
and
husband, all right, honey.
this was the first time in 10 years, right?
Yeah, this was my
So
first
are you just
dabble
like
at Mrs. Pageants.
are you just like completely floored and flabbergasted that like okay, I was just this was just for fun and now I'm like okay, I'm going to nationals now too.
I mean, yeah, it was. I mean, it was for fun, but it was also that I knew how much I'd grown as a person since I had competed at Miss California America. At the time, you have a platform, but when you're that young, it's real like I just didn't feel as involved in my platform. It was all about literacy and I was doing a lot of tutoring, which I loved, but I wouldn't say I was passionate about it. Then fast forward, and I suddenly found that I was extremely passionate about helping children in foster care. I was involved with an organization called Together We Rise, which I had learned about because I worked at Disneyland. And Together We Rise brings children there every year to reunite them with their siblings and have like a Disneyland day.
That's
So,
awesome. That's really
just
awesome.
over that 10 years, I had decided, and gotten involved with an organization that I felt like, man, if people knew about this organization, it would really change the way that they feel that they can affect children in foster care. Because so many people want to help children in foster care, but think the only way to do that is to become a foster parent or adopt. And that's not the reality. With Together We Rise, there's a ton of ways that you can help and volunteer and donate your time without having to foster and adopt if you're not ready for that. So I really felt strongly like this is a platform that I am passionate about and want people to know about so much that it was kind of the driving force behind it.
I mean, and a pageant is such a great way to promote that topic and also get in front
Hmm.
of senators and local assembly people that really can make a difference and give grants and find money that could really help that organization. So, I mean,
Exactly.
it's amazing what a crown and sash will do to open doors that just walking in yourself or being a lobbyist would be such harder to do. So,
Yeah, actually remind me later once we're kind of there to tell you about my experience in Washington D.C.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, so you this is the first time you competed for Miss California. You go to now nationals. Do you is this the year that you win your national title or did you
Yeah.
not?
Well, so kind of backtracking, I ended up the first time I competed at Mrs. California International, I I believe I got second runner up.
Okay.
So kind of so how it worked was I got second runner up, and then that next time that Mrs. Greater San Diego pageant, I was supposed to give up my crown. And my director called me and said, she's like, you're not going to believe it, but I haven't had anybody sign up for the Mrs. portion. She's like, I haven't had that ever happen.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, okay. Well, like, what does that mean? Like, do I not like, how am I giving up my crown if I don't give up my crown? And she was like,
Right.
well, I can't guarantee it, but if nobody signs up, I would love to like sponsor you and take you back up to Mrs. California. I think you can bring home the crown this year. So,
Well, that's a big like that's a big pat on the
yeah,
back because
yeah.
she's putting her money where her mouth is to help you as well as putting her vote in you. So that takes a lot of,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah, her name is Debbie Dodge, and she's wonderful. She's well known in the San Diego area for pageants. And yeah, so it turns out that nobody entered, and she paid for me to go back and compete. I had to keep my same gown and my same pictures we had done the year before, but that was no problem because I loved them. And it was that year that I actually won. So from second runner up to winning.
And
But
what do you think was the defining difference between finishing second runner up to winning Mrs. California?
100%. It was a head game. I walked in and I had known about two women in advance. I knew that they had competed in a lot of Mrs. pageants. I knew that they were polished and knew exactly what they were doing. And I remember like telling my husband, one of them is going to win. Like these two are the biggest. Like they know what they're doing. They're so seasoned. And here I am, like not even knowing how this interview process works. So I really did kind of looking back, I feel like I gave it to them from the minute I met them. And sure enough, one of them won and the other got first runner up and I got second runner up. And that was, how it worked
You
out
can
that year.
psych yourself out so much.
Oh,
Such
100%.
a mind game. Your
Mm-hmm.
your brain is the strongest organ in your body, and if you allow your brain to tell you you can't do it, then you can't do it. But if you can get over that that brain telling you can't do
Mm-hmm.
it, it's amazing what you can achieve. Um,
Absolutely. But I had met such great friends that I remember feeling bummed that it was over. I thought that was such a fun experience, like these friendships that I made with the other contestants. So when Debbie offered me to go back, I was like 100%. My husband was totally on board and said, honestly, you'd be stupid to turn this down. She's offering you another chance. And,
Well, that's an awesome
you get
husband
to,
to be that,
you get
to
to,
be that positive and be like, let's go win. Like, shoot, we were that close. Let's go back and let's win.
right,
That's a
right.
keeper there. That's a good partner.
Exactly.
That's a good Batman
Yeah,
to Robin.
he was. So that was really what the kind of defining thing for me was, just not believing in myself that first time. And looking back now, like as I mentioned, I'm a big believer in my faith. And I know that it was God just shutting that door and saying, nope, not yet, not this year. This isn't your year to go compete at Mrs. International. It was the next year. And I'm so thankful for that now, because obviously it worked out well for me.
Of course.
So, yeah, going
So
back
what?
that second time, and it wasn't even a full year. The original pageant had been in January, and then they ended up bumping it to September of that same year. So I didn't even have to wait a year to compete. So I was ready. Like, I felt like I just did this 9 months ago. I know what I'm doing now. I got second runner up last time. I know that I have a chance. So I just walked in with a confidence that, I think just kind of shows through. I know other people after the fact had told me, like, wow, like, I knew it was going to be you. Like, you just had something about you. And obviously, I don't know what that is. I don't know how true that is, but I know that my confidence level was definitely up.
You were just itching to win, basically, and
I
like,
think
yeah,
so.
yeah.
And
Is
I was
there
ready.
is there a way that you can verbalize or describe um, that to someone who's like on that bump and they're having a hard time getting over that, especially in the MRS? Because I know a lot of my clients that continue getting second place or first runner
Hmm.
up, and they're always the bridesmaid and
Hmm.
not the maid of
The,
and
the bride.
bride. Ah, yes.
Yes. Well, I did a lot of judging during my time as Mrs. California International and Mrs. International. I got to judge a lot of pageants. And there was always just something about the winner to me. Like, she just walked in believing in herself 100%. And I think that that's where people get hung up, is that, it doesn't have to be the prettiest girl, it doesn't have to be the smartest girl. I remember competing against lawyers and thinking, what the heck am I doing here? Like, I work at Disneyland in the entertainment department. How am I going to compete against this woman who's a lawyer? And that goes back to what you said earlier with the Mrs. pageant. I mean, we're competing against 21-year-olds, we're competing against 50-year-olds. And there's really a huge, um, a
Gap.
gap of what you're competing with. So I think that makes it, as you said, definitely interesting. So
Well,
I think.
I don't think that there's something you're lacking just being a performer at Walt Disney World and competing against a lawyer. I mean there are people that are lawyers very young and they might not be as experienced in the entertainment world. So I think that there's
Sure.
values that are brought on both sides of the aisle. So, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what makes the marriage thing such a good component, because having a partner who's equal to fill in the gaps that you have. And that's why I think the a married pageant is so, because you're you're supposed to be a more well-rounded person because you have someone there to help you get over those harder accomplishments.
Yeah, and for most of us, we have children.
Right,
So we're
exactly.
just in a different area of our lives. And I loved competing as a miss, but it was interesting because I had all the time in the world to do appearances and to work on my platform. But when you're married and you have children, it's a balance, and it's juggling and figuring out, like, you have to be able to do it all. And that's what I think makes it so special.
How is it to represent such a large state that in most cases it would be representing like two or three states?
Hmm.
How does that really work in a state like that? Because I I haven't sorry, I haven't had the opportunity to talk to someone who represents such a large state like Texas or California.
Hmm.
So how does that work for you?
I loved it. It felt a lot like representing San Diego. Obviously people know who you are with California, and I think that at least the impression is that you competed against a good group of girls. And I feel like that's the case. It's not always about the number of people competing, but I remember every single girl I competed against, I thought she could win. She could win. There was nobody I competed against at California that I thought couldn't be the winner or wouldn't do a great job as Mrs. California. So just the level of women that you're competing with, I think is just the bar is really high. So you kind of have to be prepared for that. But at the same time, it's just who the judges want on that particular day. I don't think that there's anything special about me. I think it was just they were looking for someone like me that year.
Do you
And
like the fact that you were so much tested and proven? Do you like to go through that high, such a high bar than going through a smaller state like Maryland that may have such a smaller group of delegates, and they don't really get tested to they get to the actual national level?
I think that you never know. I mean, time and time again, you've seen California, Texas, Florida not even make it in the top or not make the top five. So I think it's just every year it shouldn't be about the state. It really shouldn't. It's fun to represent California, but I know that if I lived in Oregon or Maryland or wherever, that it would be a thrill to represent that state. I've lived in California my whole life, so it was a dream to finally be Mrs. California and represented at a international level. So, but I also think that, I became really good friends with Mrs. North Dakota. I ended up visiting her and staying with her and being at her pageant when she gave up her crown. And I feel like she had the same pride representing North Dakota as I did for California. And they ran a fantastic pageant. So I think that, not to get too into the states, it was fun for me to represent California. But that's just because I'm a California girl. I've lived here my whole life. Um, but I think that you find. I mean, actually, Mrs. North Dakota got first runner up when I won. So I don't think you know anyone would be like, oh, North Dakota, that's a pageant state, like you would think of Texas. But she rocked it. I mean, she brought it, and she was first runner up. So I think that it's really anyone's win. Anybody can win. It's just the girls and who the judges are liking that year. Um, so that was my experience. And at international, we compete with Vietnam, we compete with Japan, Singapore, Australia, Ukraine. It was unbelievable. It was such a fun experience. Like you're competing with women from all over the world, and also women from different states. So it was a pretty spectacular week of events.
I just wanted to take 1 second from this great interview and talk about our sponsor of the week, Mid Atlantic Video and Photography Productions. No matter if you're planning a wedding, a special event, or you just need an amazing headshot, they are the team to get the job done. You can reach out to them at 443-422-3830. Again, that's 443-422-3830. Or you can go right to their website at mavpp.com. Now let's get right back to the show and listen to this great interview. Well, it sounds like it was so exciting for you. You talk with so much passion, and to be part of an organization for such a short time, and then go on to win their national title.
Hmm.
Was that like a windstorm of emotions? Like, wow, like I'm sure it sounds to me you expected that you could do it, but to win a national title is a very small percentage. I think they say
Yeah.
more people play in the Super Bowl that than win national titles. So you're in such elite category. So
Well, I think that what really helped me to believe were my directors. As I mentioned, Ashley and Megan were my two directors. And then we also had Gasper. I don't know if you're familiar. His name's Gasper Cruz. He's a makeup artist, gown designer. He designs earrings, but he was my sponsor. So I got to design my dress, and he made it
Awesome.
for me. It was like a dream dress because you literally, I drew it up, and then he perfected it and then just made it, and it came to life. So that was a huge blessing. So to have the three of them telling me I could win, they've been involved in the international system for so long. I knew that they knew more about it than me. So for my whole year as Mrs. California, I did not believe I could win. My experience had always been, I don't win things the first time. I didn't win Mrs. California the first time. I didn't win Mrs. San Diego or Miss San Diego the first time when I was in college. So it was always my experience that the second time I competed was my time. So in my head, I'm thinking, I'm going to go up there and I'm going to compete for Mrs. International, but I never win that first time. I'm going to probably want to go back and compete again. So it wasn't until I was flying to West Virginia that I just thought of everything they'd told me. And I thought, you know what? Why can't I win? I can win this. I've got to believe I can win, because if I don't believe it, then the judges certainly aren't going to believe it. So that whole week I was there, I was cautiously optimistic, thinking I can win. But if I don't win, it's okay. And it doesn't mean that I didn't do a good job. It didn't mean that I didn't work my butt off as Mrs. California International. I did. I went to so many appearances. I did so many things because I knew that I had one shot as Mrs. California, and I wanted to make it count. It was a hard year for my family, me being gone and traveling so much. But at the end of the day, I didn't want to look back and think, what if I had done more? What if I had put more effort in? What would have been different?
And
So
it,
I really went in with that confidence, knowing I know all these women are passionate about their platforms, but I really did do everything in my power to be prepared for that pageant. I knew that if the judges asked me about my appearances, my platform work, anything with the Go Red organization, which is who we're aligned with. The International Pageants has a national alliance with Go Red for Women. So I did a lot of events for them. I just really wanted to make sure that I fully understood what the job would entail. So that way they wouldn't say, well, how are you going to be Mrs. International if you can't even do this as Mrs. California? So,
well, I mean, it sounds like certain things were definitely in line for you to win, even if you weren't believing it at the get one, being
mhm.
being able to have the skills to draw up a mock up of a dress that you think that would, and then have someone take that and actually make it is really important to have something that fits you the way it's going to look on stage. So, and then
Yeah,
have a
and just
team.
yeah, I had my birthstone is pearl, and I remember thinking I've never seen pearls on a pageant dress. That's just not, it's rhinestones. So
Hmm.
that was really important to me that my dress had pearls, and it was that kind of little edge that I felt like this dress is all mine. Like I created it, and he added the pearls beautifully, and obviously there was bling, there was rhinestones, there was sparkle, but those pearls really made it very me.
And
And
pearls are
so when
so
I
classy,
walked,
that
yeah, they are, but when I walked on stage, I remember just walking with my husband and feeling like this is I don't even care if I win. This is so cool. We're on this stage together and I'm in this gown that I love. So it just, to me, that was just the tip of the iceberg. And I took my time and I just walked slowly on that stage because I wanted every minute. I just wanted it to last because I thought this is what we've worked for. This moment on stage together is why we're here. And another funny thing, my husband had always wanted to see me in a white dress. He loves white on me, and yet when I was picking out my dress to compete for Mrs. California, the one I fell in love with was black. And he really liked this white one, but I went with the black one. So when I was designing this dress, I had told him that it wasn't white. He goes, "You didn't do white?" I'm like, "No, we decided with a different color." And him not being a pageant husband, that's about as much as he knew. So it was really fun because the moment that we are about to walk on stage, he's on one side of the stage and I'm on the other. And he saw me. And I remember his face seeing me. I was so excited. I thought he's going to be so surprised that it's a white dress. So it was really fun. Like that was just our moment where he got to see me in a dress that, he had wanted me to see. He'd wanted me to be in a white dress. So we kind of had that fun little moment that nobody knew about, but he was, we're just kind of
Did it?
giggling because
Did his jaw just hit the
I,
floor?
I think so. I mean, he stayed composed because he's about to walk on
Of
stage, but
course.
it was a pretty funny thing. He's like, "You didn't tell me," but I didn't tell him I was going to compete the first time, so I
That's
like to
right.
surprise him, keep him guessing, and keep him on his toes.
Hey, any good wife always keeps her husband on his toes, because if you
Yeah.
don't, then life is really boring if you just have mundane it. So it's good that you keep him on his toes.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah. So.
so you so you go with his idea. Your team is
Mhm.
behind you. You had mentioned before the competition that you were having self doubt. So how did that
Yes.
self doubt turn into determination that this is going to be the best experience, win or lose? So explain that thought process.
You know, I was on the plane flying there. It was like a red eye flight. And right before I had left, like an hour before, I was on my laptop shutting everything down. And at the time, I had never even heard of Lauren Daigle. I had never heard the song You Say. It popped up as like recommended for you, and I played it. And
Wow.
it just seemed like it fit perfectly with what I was about to go through. Like, if you know the song, it's someone feeling inadequate,
Hmm.
someone feeling not good enough, and God saying you're enough. So I downloaded the song and I listened to it on my plane ride there over and over. And again, like the song was it's really well known now, but at the time it was pretty. I think it was brand new.
But as much as you're so faith based, you have to believe that that was God telling you. You have to believe in
Yeah.
this, and like you have to sing this, because
Just
especially,
sending me a sign that,
yeah.
he was there. And it didn't mean, it's not like, oh, you're going to win. It's just, I'm here with you and it's going to be okay. Win or lose, this is going to be a great experience. Just have fun and enjoy it. So
and
that's
they
what I
say
tried to do.
and they say God speaks out in a mysterious and ways that you don't expect, and
Hmm.
he asks for your help when you're not expecting, or sends you help.
Right.
So clearly, I mean, that's how I would take it, that he was said, I need you, I need your help, I need you to try this. So
Right, exactly. So that was just a little sign from God, and I think it kind of carried me through that whole week of just remembering that. And then obviously it comes down to finals night. I was actually contestant number 30 of 60, so I was right in the middle of this group of 60 women. So then on finals night, they narrowed it down to a top 16. And I was the last name called for the top 16. So that was the scariest moment ever, because here you've worked so hard, you're representing, a state you love, and they are down to the last spot in the top 16, and my name had not been called yet. And it was kind of flashbacks to when I was Miss San Diego competing for Miss California and not making that top 15. I thought, of course I'm not going to make it. This is what happened last time. Why did I think I had a chance? I remember feeling that way. And then they called my name for that last spot, and it was just like I couldn't believe it. I remember hearing, my family and everybody applauding, and just being in disbelief. Like, I can't believe I actually made it to this top 16 with all of these amazing women.
I've actually not had the opportunity to talk to someone that has won a national title and was called so late. So
Hmm.
what's that feel like? Like to have everyone like the are you getting really emotional, or is your heart beating, or are you like cool, just completely chilled, and like you're not phased by it at all?
Oh no, my heart was beating fast. Every name that got called, I thought, oh yeah, of course she deserves it. Yep, her. And then when it gets down to that last spot, you're like, well, I'm standing here with a bunch of women that I think totally deserve this spot. So it was kind of it could be anyone moment. Um, but I know that for my family, like my husband was sitting with his friend. His wife was also competing, and neither of their wives had been called. And it's just like this horrible feeling because you're thinking, even if one of our wives get called, they both won't make it at this point. So kind of a hard position for
Oh,
the husbands to
absolutely.
be in because they're all sitting together.
So
Um,
awkward. So awkward.
but
Completely.
at the same time, the husbands are very usually happy for each other, and um, it just kind of happens so fast. I mean, they're calling that top 16 really quickly, so I only had really a few seconds to understand that this is the last name being called.
Oh, they didn't
And
do
when
that
they
draw it out thing where
I
they
mean
try to
they
like play with you guys. So our last candidate.
No, no. We had great MCs and they don't, feel like
I hate
they get
that.
to the point, but it was still, it feels like an eternity, but
Oh
really it's a
yeah, of
couple
course.
seconds. And I just remember hearing my name and being like, oh my gosh. But you don't have time because they're rushing you off stage because you have to go get in your change your outfit because we have on stage question, which is extremely hard in international system, by the way. They just I swear they just like ask people find the hardest questions in the world and let's ask these women. I mean, it was just um
Well, do you like the
when you're
idea of
back.
being challenged like that, or would you
Yes, I
not to
mean,
be? Would you not
I,
feel to be challenged like that in front on a stage like that?
oh, it's terrifying. But I mean, I watch a lot of the news. I feel like I'm well versed on things, and I still feel like you just can't be prepared because you don't know what you're going to get. I would hear questions that I thought, okay, I know about that. And then you just hear things that, you can't really prepare for. My question was, and I can't remember its entirety, but something about which um, government, with all the budget issues we're having, which government department would you close to save money? Something
Oh
like
my
that.
god!
I'm not wording it correctly, but it
But
was something along those
that's a
lines.
horrible question. Like,
I remember
just fire. What?
thinking, how am I going to not offend? Like, oh, Department of
I
Education?
know.
Nope. Department of Agriculture? Nope. Like, what do I say that's not going to completely offend a bunch of people? Um, and so,
I'm flabbergasted that that was your question.
yeah. And I feel like that was still maybe one of the easier ones, maybe not. But I remember being completely blank in my head and feeling like I have no clue what I'm going to say. I have no clue what I'm going to say. And I opened my mouth and spoke, and I did not know what I said. And I got off stage and I texted my sister and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I just blew it. I have no clue what I just said. I just some like words just came out."
Mhm.
And she was like, "No, I thought it was pretty good. I don't know why your heart." I'm like, "What did I say?" And she was like, I don't know, but it was pretty good. Everyone here is agreeing it's pretty good." So I know now, like, I believe wholeheartedly that God just spoke through me because I prayed about that on stage question. And I said, God, you know that like my husband is a great speaker. He can speak pretty eloquently in front of people. I get nervous. And even though it's things I know, I just don't know how to express it in an intelligent way. So I feel like God just put the thoughts in my head, and what I ended up saying is that something along the lines that I wouldn't close one particular department. I would figure out where we're overspending and basically trim the fat off of every department. That way, we don't have to shut anything down completely, but we're also helping to fix the budget, something like that. So kind of,
That's a good answer.
answering it in a yeah, but I didn't come up with that. I mean, that was not in my head at all. So I really believe that God was there with me and kind of just helped me through that moment because I mean, I remember just freezing. Um, and so that was a pretty cool thing after the fact to actually
Hmm.
watch it and go, that's what I said. I had no memory of what I said. Obviously, nerves are a part of that, but I really think that you know, God was with me and it was just my
No,
time and he helped me answer the question to the best of my ability.
I'm with you on that. They, like I said, I'm a Catholic, and they teach us that under certain circumstances, God will speak through you. So
Hmm.
you know, I can't. I think that you're on the right path. I don't know what other way to describe it, especially if you have no recollection of it at all. I'm like,
Hmm.
so
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So got through on stage question. Once I got through that, in my head still I had blown it. So I just had like nothing. I just thought, have fun now. Like that our onstage question is 50% of our final score that night. So basically, onstage question is 50%, um, fitness is 25%, and evening gown is 25%. So if you blow your question 50%, you're probably not going to win. Um, so I just had fun with fitness and did what I knew I should do and took my time and had enjoyed the moment, and did the same for evening gown again, wearing a dress I loved and experiencing that. And then it comes down to all 60 of us are on stage. The top 16 are in the front. And they don't, I mean, there's no narrowing it down. It goes from top 16 to they announce fourth runner up, third runner up, second runner up, first runner up, and winner. So after they announce fourth, third, second, first, you're still up there with quite a lot of women. It's not like it comes down to the two of you,
Do you like
holding
that?
hands.
Do you like that larger field and narrow it down from everyone than being narrowed down to like 5 or 3 or 2?
I like both ways. When I won Miss San Diego, it was down to the two of us, and it's a fun moment holding hands with the other person. But I have to say, having experienced it, I I can't explain the feeling of them calling my name. It was like the biggest shock of my life. And I think it's less so when there's two of you because you have a 50-50 shot at that point. Like they may call your name and they may not. It's a 50-50 shot. But with so many of us, and they'd only called, 4 women, there was still, 11 of us left.
Wow, wow.
Um,
That
a
that's a lot of
large number.
people. I mean,
There's a
yeah.
lot of you. So the odds of them calling your name are a lot slimmer than 50-50. So for that reason, I think I wouldn't trade it because the joy and the shock and the emotion that I felt was so raw and real because I really didn't. I mean, if I'm honest, like there were women that I thought had it in the bag that hadn't even been called for third, second. I mean, one of my closest friends at the competition was Texas, and she hadn't been called. And there were other women, like probably 5, that I thought the whole week were going to win and hadn't been called yet. So they're all standing up there with me still. So when they did call my name, it was an unbelievable, like I couldn't believe it, couldn't fathom it. I think everybody in my family felt the same way. But it was just the beginning of an amazing year.
I just wanted to take one extra second and talk about our sponsor of the week, Mid-Atlantic Video and Photography Production. No matter if you're planning a wedding and you need a wedding videographer, you're doing a music video, or you're doing a commercial, they are the team to get the job done. You can reach out to them at 443-422-3830. Again, that's 443-422-3830. Or you can go right to their website at mavpp.com. Now let's get right back to this great interview. To win that national title is, never expecting, but having that title and spent that whole year being a national title holder, has that changed your life? Do you feel you have more purpose or you have more opportunities because of that?
I feel like yes to everything. It was a dream come true. An amazing year, international, like particularly with Mrs. Pageants. I feel like the international pageant system, I mean, they really set you up for success. When I won, I had a meeting the next morning with the entire staff, which was intimidating, but also really fun. And we get a $10,000 wardrobe budget donated from Competitive Image. We get professional headshots paid for with Clay Span. We get a travel budget, which I don't think many other systems have, particularly with Mrs. We get a PR person who books all of our appearances. All we have to do is tell her where we're going, what city and what state, and she books all of our stuff. Um,
I mean, that's incredible.
There's
Like,
there was so
like
many. I mean, I'm
wow.
I'm drawing a blank. One of the sponsor, Susie Booch. She's the interview coach for them. She just writes you a check for $1,000 just for winning, which was more than I paid her for any kind of training. I think I did a couple sessions with her, and she was wonderful. But it was just, I'm like, you're just sending me money, and she's like, yeah, it's part of your prize package, and I just couldn't believe it because that was, unheard of. And then also, if you do your year and complete all your blogs and everything that you're supposed to do, they write you a check at the end of the year. Um, for doing your job. So, and that was another thing. Like, I don't think I'd ever competed in another pageant system where I actually got paid for doing the job.
I mean, I I sponsor the Maryland International Pageant, and
Oh.
I recognize how incredible the state director is and how great, and uh, just what you're talking about, how they treat the national title holder is so
Mm-hmm.
incredible. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, why wouldn't you want to compete in the international system and have your and have people represent it? I mean, to be treated that way is such a phenomenal way, and to also, like you said, you basically are getting you at least recovered all the money that you spent on top of it,
Oh,
and
definitely.
perhaps even making out on, and then also representing the entire country. Now, you guys also do a world. Is there a world pageant too, or no?
No, I mean, that's it because it's
That's it.
international. Yeah,
Okay.
it's Mrs. International. So we had, 60 women from all over the world.
Okay. So I I apologize. I only represent the Maryland. So I've never been to nationals or international.
Well,
So
you should come.
I should. I'm definitely going to consider coming this year. But so they actually compete at that. So you were competing at, oh, so that's why it was all over. So I was wondering why it was over 60.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow. So that's interesting. That's a way more unique. So you're not, as Miss California, you weren't just competing. You were also competing with what was the title?
Australia.
Miss MRS
Yes.
Australia. Wow. So
Yes. So
that's
Mrs.
unique, right?
Australia, Mrs. Ukraine, Mrs. Japan, Mrs. Vietnam, Mrs.
Wow.
Singapore. I mean, that was the really fun part. So we had, a ton of states there, almost, every big state and
Right.
a lot of other states. But then you had countries there, women representing their country.
That's such a
And
unique, like, that's something that should totally be more promoted,
yeah.
because I mean, myself as a photography sponsor with the local state, I wasn't even aware of that. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's kind of, I mean, was that weird to you first or learning about it, or because it sounds really cool, but also like, you know, that's
I mean, it
something.
just felt like I was playing with the big boys. It
I
was just
know,
like,
I
all
know,
right, there is
exactly. Like, it's there.
no,
Here's the
yeah, like this
cards.
is well, but that's why I worked so hard as Mrs. California. I mean, in large part, I just thought I don't want to let down any of the women that I competed against for California. I want them to all be proud of my year. I want them to be proud of how I compete at Mrs. International and, just give California a good name and let them know how hard we work. And I know that everybody feels that way. I know that every woman I talk to does so much work where she comes from. And that's part of why I love the international system is there's such a heavy emphasis on your platform. So, when I would speak as Mrs. International, I wanted to let little girls know like it's not about looks. I mean, yes, it's important how you look and how you present yourself, but really they're looking for a woman who has a passion for helping her community and for giving back. And that is what they were really striving for. And, it's funny that you bring up like, oh, they should promote that. I love Mary Richardson. She's like the international bigwig. She is, the director and we've spoken and I said, Mary, why don't you advertise the prizes that your queens get? If you advertise this, you would have girls, you know, knocking down your door trying to compete for this title because I mean, I have friends who, have won other systems, and they're all great systems, but I don't. Like, they have told me like my prize is nothing compared to what you got, and
I know for a fact that some of the girls that I've photographed and worked with, they don't even know about that. Like, so
hmm
that's, I mean, That
Yeah,
I
well,
mean,
when I when
there.
I talked to Mary about it, she said, and it blew me away. She said, I know that if we advertised it, it would really draw people in, but I don't want to draw in the type of girls who are only in it for the prize money. I want women who have a heart for service and for giving back. So the prize shouldn't be the main focus. And I thought she is so right. You know, like she is absolutely right. And I admire her for that because it's not about, you know, bringing in the most people. It's about having the right women there. And that's why we had such an amazing week. Like we all got along. There was no drama. It was just such a fun experience. And it's because all of the women that were there, they weren't there to win the prize money. They weren't there for the you know, travel budget and the clothing budget. It was more about wanting to give back and promote their platform. So I really see where she's coming from. I mean, I asked her, I said, you know, I ended up taking my family on a cruise with some of my prize money that I won after my year, and I asked. I said, "Hey, is it okay if I post a picture and say that I'm taking my family with my prize money?" And they were like, absolutely, you know, no problem. If you want to promote that, that's fine. But that's not going to be their goal is to say, oh, look, you win this prize and you win this. I mean, and I was blown away. I couldn't believe how much they spoiled me. Even as Mrs. California International, they just like randomly would send me boxes like, Park Lane, like halfway through my year, sent me this huge box of jewelry. And they're like, yep, we're sponsoring you. Here's a big box of jewelry. And I was like, are you kidding me? And then they sent me these candles and bags, and just throughout my year it was just like such an amazing experience. But
I mean, that
I think
just
it's
sounds so.
wonderful that
It just sounds.
they don't promote it that way.
Yeah.
It's not like
But it also sounds so incredible that they take care of you so well. Because I know for a
mhm,
fact, I have friends that have won USA in America, um, and they're supposed to be like the biggest and best thing. They're on
mhm,
national, and they don't get that treatment. They don't even.
mhm.
They get so much scrutiny, and they get held to such a high stand, and they don't get treated the
Yeah.
way. There's not even close. No.
Right. And I think truly like within the system, like I actually got to judge the Miss Teen and Mrs. Illinois pageant for international. And when I arrived at the airport, they had like this like luxury car pick me up and take me to the
Wow.
hotel and set me up in this nice room, and I had gifts in the room when I got there, and then the car took me back to the airport. I mean, it was like VIP service, and I'm thinking I don't deserve this. Like
Aw.
like are you kidding me? And then my other highlight of my year is I got to go to Japan as Mrs. International, and the whole Mrs. Japan International team. I mean, it was unbelievable. I actually aligned my trip with a business trip that my dad had in Japan, so we could kind of go together, and also just made my husband feel a little safer about me traveling,
Mm-hmm.
you know, to another country. The fact that my dad was there, so they just held these beautiful luncheons and had these amazing experiences set up for both me and my father. And he was literally like, I'm talking to these girls and they're so happy you're here. They can't believe it. And we were just blown away at the way that we were treated. They had a kimono company like sponsor me and like did me all up in a full
Wow.
blown kimono. They had my hair done. And then they paid for a professional photographer to follow me around in my appearances and get photos of all of us. And those are some of my most cherished memories from my years, to have these professional photos walking through the streets of Japan in a kimono. Like, unbelievable. Um, and I just owe it all to the international system because I've not seen anything like it. And truly, I just feel so blessed. Like I said, going back to me not winning California that first year, it was not my year, and I'm so glad because you know that next year was my year, and God knew that, and that's why he gave me such an amazing experience that I wanted to go back to California, but I didn't win, you know, because that wasn't my time. Um, and the other thing I wanted to touch on that I said I would go back to is I got to go to Washington, D.C. as Mrs. International, and, you know, go around and meet people. But one of the more significant um, ones I had was with my very own congressman. And I walked in and we're waiting, and he was like, I'm so sorry. I just got called into a meeting. I only have like 2 minutes. Go. And so I had 2 minutes to tell him about like why I was there and talking about foster care and adoption. And he ended up taking a lot more time, and he was like, "You know what? People don't know this, but I was adopted from Mexico, and I love what you're doing and I want to help. How can I help you?" And I listed the ways he
Wow.
can help, that they can get involved. And literally, when I got back, I had emails from his office, like ready to go, ready to help me. And it was amazing. Like, that crown and sash really opened up that door for me to talk to him. And in 2 minutes, I was able to make an impact. And I was there with another girl who she goes up every year and helps. Lobby for another organization, and she does pageants as well. And she was like, "You know what? We always say what doors open when you wear a crown and sash. Like, we always say that, right? That's what we all say." But she's like, "I have never actually seen it in action, but I have never been treated the way that we were treated with your crown and sash. Like, people are just interested to hear what you have to say." Right or wrong, that was my experience. And I
There
just
must
think
be
that
some
that's a
kind of
really cool thing.
there must be some kind of like aura that really that shapes you and like help to put you in the right direction. So, and it sounds
Yeah.
like everything. It sounds like your year was absolutely the best year you could even ever have, being
Mhm.
a national or world title holder. So,
Yeah,
um,
it was, and
I mean, you
I
totally.
wouldn't trade it for anything, but I am happy to be, you know, just home now with the family, and um not traveling every single, week, and giving my family kind of a break and really getting to enjoy that family time, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. And I still have a great relationship with Mary Richardson. She texts me frequently just to check in on us, and that's the other thing I love, is that once you're an international queen, you're always family. And she will, she texts me just to let me know she's thinking of me and praying for our family. And that's really special, because I didn't expect that. I know that she has new queens this year. She doesn't have to stay in touch with me, but she really puts in the effort to do so. And that means so much to me. And that's why I'm such a fan of the international pageant system, because I've experienced it, I've witnessed it, I've gone through it. And I think the main takeaway is that if you work hard and do your job, they will work extremely hard for you and be so good to you. So, if you walk in and decide you're just going to not do anything, I don't think that's going to bode well for you. But if you put in the work and you follow through with your obligations, it'll be the best year of your life.
I mean, clearly they should hire you to be their salesperson because you speak so eloquently and you speak so dominantly. This is such an incredible organization. And this is why, and this is why. I mean, this is
Hmm.
clearly why they picked you. So I mean, the judges made such a great decision to have you represent their organization. So
Well, thank you. I think that any of us could have done it that year, but I am really glad that it was me that they chose. So, yeah, I think that's kind of me in a nutshell.
yeah.
So, thank you so much
No, I
for
really
asking.
appreciate it. If there's nothing else that you want to tell our great listeners, then I wish you safe journey, and I hope you stay safe. And if anything new happens on Horizons, if you're ever on the East Coast, we'd love to work with you in the photography studio. So
Oh,
good
thank
luck,
you.
good luck to you, and we wish you a safe journey.
Well, thank you so much. And I look forward to speaking with you again.
Okay,
All right. Bye bye.
Lauren, thank you so much for coming on the show. Wow, I am so impressed and so thankful to have such an incredible national title holder on my show, and for you to tell all of your experiences. Um, it just shows that with determination and hard work, you can achieve your goals. And it just also shows that you don't have to be doing this for your entire life. You can put family first and take 10 years off, and you can still come back and win a national title. And that's so impressive. And it just shows it can be done. And kudos for you for all your hard work. And thank you for your time. For all my listeners, thank you so much for subscribing to our show both on YouTube and on iTunes. We really do appreciate your feedback. Thanks for giving us a thumbs up and a thumbs down. and just giving us our feedback. Thumbs up or thumbs down. We appreciate either way. Feedback is the most important thing. Don't forget, we also have a movie review show with my co-host, Yvonne Carlos, called The Movie Breakdown. So please let us know what movies you would like us to review, and we will do that. And as always, please stay tuned.